What's up, y'all? How's everybody doing? Hoping everybody's well. All right, much appreciation, Malika, MLR for that generous donation. Rashid, I appreciate that. Hope everybody is well. Y'all know what it is. It's the Onyx Report with Dr. T. Hasan Johnson, and we are doing a special episode. So I am dispensing with my regular format for the night because I got a couple of powerhouses, and I think we're gonna need a little bit of the time. So I just wanted to get straight to it. But before we do that, we give a couple of people a couple of seconds to come in the room. What's up, AB Media? Officer Faulkner, I saw you in here earlier. I hope all y'all will be in the after hours because I definitely want to find out what's going on with you, brother. I know you just had surgery. I'm glad it went well. We're going to find out what's happening with you. Cornbread, what's going on? Let's see, Born Free, right? Hope everybody is well. It has been a very powerful week. A lot of, and I mean that in the best and worst of ways. The last, number of days have been ridiculous on a number of fronts. But at the same time, there's been a lot of meaningful moments as well. And one of them definitely has to do with one of my guests tonight. If you didn't see his last show dealing with domestic violence a few hours ago, you have truly missed out. So you definitely want to go check when you're done here. If you haven't seen it, Dennis Spurling's, I think it's the second to last one posted. He has one on Fox Soul. I think it was Fox Soul he was on. But the one prior to that from earlier today on domestic violence, extremely powerful episode. Also, if you missed Green Gorilla's last show, which also was about an hour and a half ago, he had some profound words to the manosphere most particularly, but to Black men in general, that, again, if you missed out on, you definitely missed out. So you need to go back and check that. And please make sure that you do. Let's see. Excalibur, what's going on? Brandon, what's happening? Acquired. Taylor, what's up? Prince, what's going on? Hope everybody's well. So we are about to get into it. And as I said, it'll be a little bit early. However, I do want to start with acknowledging my supporters. I want to acknowledge my subscribers and thank them in my own way. So here is that thank you. All right. So thank you to the subscribers. Thanks for supporting the Onyx Report. Thanks for supporting the Institute for Black Male Studies. There's a lot of videos coming out. If you missed it, we already had one of my guests tonight. I've interviewed him just one-on-one, and that video is on the Institute for Black Male Studies website. You can find kind of teaser here on my channel on the Onyx Report. Click on that, go in the description box. It'll take you directly to the entire interview. You definitely want to do that. I will have one Dr. William Smith. That interview will be up tomorrow. I think you'll enjoy that. He's the creator of Racial Battle Fatigue and deals a lot with microaggressions. Very powerful brother out in Utah, professor, whom I respect a great deal. So you'll be seeing that video soon. Also have upcoming videos coming out with Kevin Smith as well. I mean, Kevin Samuels, excuse me. That'll be coming out soon, and a number of other ones that I think you're going to enjoy coming. You're going to enjoy seeing, and I'm also going to get. I'm going to use this platform to chide my brother Dennis and see if I can interview him for the Institute for Black Male Studies. So y'all help me out because the brother's extremely busy. Anyway, so make sure you support the channel. like, share, subscribe. Let everybody know what's going on with it. You can see the links at the bottom of the screen. So please go ahead and do that. You can support on Patreon, Cash App, or PayPal, or Venmo, or of course right here through YouTube, and it supports all the endeavors that we engage in. Okay, so normally when I start the show, I go into my categories, and I am going to partially do one tonight. Right, I'm going to deal with the sacred Black masculine, and one of the ways I'm going to do that is by bringing up a good brother who I've had the honor to meet on Facebook, and I wanted to give him an opportunity to. I wanted to introduce y'all for those that don't know him, and really give him an opportunity to talk about what he does. But I'm bringing him in the Sacred Black Masculine series. Well, you'll find out in a moment. So let me go ahead and bring up Mr. Calvin T. Mann. How
Yes,
you doing,
sir.
sir?
Oh man, just bless.
Oh man, I just wanted to thank you for taking the time to come up, man. I've been blown away by your work. Calvin is the national encourager, is president. Calvin T. Mann, national encourager, is president and founder of Good Fathers Only and EMIY Inc. He is a BME Community Vanguard Fellow, and you can visit his website at emiyworld.com. But brother, I just wanted to really get you to tell us for in a couple of moments what it is you do, and share with us what you will about that.
Well, I think for me it became about solutions. Everything that you see from it just became about solutions. How
Okay.
much work we could do. So what we have done is we mentor in prevention. We had several awareness campaigns. One on our website is Respect Day, but right now is the Smash Suicide campaign.
Yes.
And that
And,
Smash Suicide campaign literally is the campaign that brings the awareness to Black boys and boys committing suicide. Black boys 5 to 11 are number one in suicide. So I flipped my whole website and our whole movement to target the solution that we possess and to share it with many, many people after 35 years of working with males.
beautiful.
And
Beautiful.
so we've used our apparel, which have been on Ron's House, NFL Network, MTV, BT, sports teams, college teams, right? And more importantly, just getting the brand out there of Emmy, which stands for Encourage Me, I'm Young. And
Okay.
that way we are able to give an answer to bullying and suicide. But more importantly, if you get your Emmy, it's about cultivating the leadership. We need
Okay.
more leadership and unity. So how can you expect unity if you don't teach unity?
Hmm.
And so in our mentoring program, we teach male unity
Okay. Okay.
across the board. Yep. And so in that process, our secret sauce is fatherhood. Of course,
Right.
fatherhood is the answer to many, 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 many problems. Many, many problems, right? And
Absolutely.
fatherhood is connected to the whole you get to live longer. I seen my man Carnell when we go back a ways. He and I both did the men's issue conference. That's
Okay.
where we met in 2014. So we understand what we're up against as men, Black men preferably, and how we can make that much of a difference. So I just jumped out here by laying shirts with kids were getting killed with one quote in 2004, 2007. A mom gave me my nonprofit. I took
Hmm.
that 2010, grabbed 350 boys on the east side, built my
Beautiful.
mentoring program. Now it's evidence-based by certified by the University of Michigan. And we're
There it
getting
is.
ready to move into 10 cities.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Congratulations. And matter of fact, in support of what you're saying, I just want to point out, I know you guys can't see it, but I am wearing my Black Fatherhood is the Cure t-shirt, uh, in honor of the brothers I'm having on here, and especially your work. So I just wanted to really get you up here and thank you and acknowledge you, man, because I've been seeing you, on Facebook. I've been seeing what you're doing, and all I could do was just say, man, that brother's doing it, and we need to honor that. So you are definitely our first live Sacred Black Masculine guest But here on the Onyx Report, we celebrate Black men and
Yes.
boys, and so we wanted to definitely do that and acknowledge you. So thank you for your work, and as one says, as many of us say to the military, thank you for your service, because our community and most particularly our men have been at war for centuries, and some of us seem to forget that, and our boys are definitely under attack, despite how many will overlook it, even if they've grown up experiencing it. So we got to put it back on the front and focus on what we need to do to help uplift our boys. So thank you.
Yes. Yes. Celebrate fatherhood at all costs is what we do.
Yes,
Hoodies, jackets, hats, all of that. But more importantly, right? What you want to do is be out front. I tell my young men, I tell fathers all, go on out front, get in front of it, be the
yes.
leader that everybody say you can't be, and watch how many people follow you.
There it is. There it
So
is.
thank you.
Well, check out Calvin T. Mann. Where can people get hold of you, and where can they find more information?
Go to Emmy World, EMIY World.com. Donate, purchase, get a gift of encouragement to a kid, daughter, whoever may be struggling, man. Give them, I guarantee you, which has blown me away, is the results of somebody just buying a simple t-shirt, making that much difference in a person's life. And we're proud of what we're doing and what we're going to do.
That's right. That's right. I'm gonna go ahead and put your the information from that article in the chat. So again, anybody that's interested, matter of fact, I'll also put the URL so people can check that out. Um, so again, thank you for your work, brother, and it was good to finally be able to hear your voice.
Yes, sir.
And, hopefully, we'll stay in contact, and if there's anything I can do to support, let me know.
Yes, sir. Let's do it.
All right, man. Take it easy.
All right. Yep. Thank you.
All right. So I'm going to bring my two guests right up, and we're going to jump right in, but I want to briefly introduce them. First of which has been a guest on my show before, and that particular episode was ridiculous because he gave brothers in particular, a plan on how to escape a bad situation. Okay, I'm hearing some sounds here. Let's see, is that coming from me? You guys let me know in the chat if you guys are hearing the echo. Y'all know when I'm on StreamYard, whenever I bring people up, sometimes there's problems. But anyway, Mr. Attorney Dennis Uncle D Spurling, who again, I'm telling you, he's been blowing it up. And if you don't know who he is, I don't know where you've been. He's pretty much taken over YouTube right about now in the midst of running a successful practice in Texas and raising his sons. And I'm gonna tell you, man, if you just watch the clips that he puts up about him and his sons, that alone will just really put a tear in your eye. But he's been doing some powerful work, really advocating for Black men and boys, and it's always an honor to be able to talk to him. It's an honor to have him on the show. So I just wanted to shout him out. And just real quick, I'm going to show you his book, which I highly suggest you go ahead and purchase. So I'm going to put that on the screen there. It looks like we got a little bit of an echo. Rules to live by, right? How to maintain peace of mind and happiness in a conflicted world. So I got it up here. Check it out. If you haven't already, definitely support the book. All right. Next up, my next guest is known as the paternity coach, Carnell Smith. Again, if you saw the interview we did the other day, that is showcased on the Institute for Black Male Studies site. It was powerful. It'll blow your mind all together. The brother has done extensive work and spent $250,000 fighting his own paternity case, a case that he took all the way to the Supreme Court, and has a lot of profound observations to share about that experience and more in relation to his work advocating again for men as fathers, as husbands who are going through these experiences where they are, falsely said to be the father of a child that they didn't actually father. So, as I said, he took his case to the U.S. Supreme Court, lobbied for and coached victims while advocating across multiple states on how to create new paternity disestablishment legislation, with the critical component, launched the Citizens Against Paternity Fraud advocacy group that helped other states, founded the former For Truth Identities DNA Center, and provided legal maternity, paternity, and immigration testing for 10 years nationwide, exposed the impact of paternity fraud on military men and teen boys, exposed the impact of family law on men's marriage strike, launched the renowned paternityfraud.com website, authored the Georgia Senate and DC Paternity Fraud Report. And I will also show you his book that I highly suggest you pick up as well. His book is entitled Trapped by Law, Stop Paying Child Support for Paternity Fraud, written last year or published last year. So check that out, right? Support the brother, and definitely, you'll definitely benefit from having done so. So make sure you go do that. Matter of fact, I will put the links. I mean, there's probably other sources. This is Amazon, but I'll put the links in the chat for both books, so you can check those out. And not only support some brothers who are doing some powerful work, but educate yourself in a number of areas. So, good brothers, thank you for coming. I appreciate it. Y'all both came on relatively short notice, but Dennis, I'm not sure if you know, when I interviewed Carnell, it was the same day you did a broadcast with O'Shea dealing with this very issue. And so for me, it was an incredible link, between what Carnell and I were talking about and what you and O'Shea did. So I said, I got to get these two brothers together. And so I did a little commercial that was a product of delirium. I was up pretty late. I said, well, I'm just going to put this together. But it really was, in many ways, that in my mind. If I could get these two brothers together, we can facilitate a dialogue on paternity fraud, it would be a powerful event. So thank you both for coming.
It's my pleasure.
I want to start by asking, Dennis, tell me, how do you come to this work? Because we're going to get to Carnell, and Carnell's story is powerful. But, as an attorney, as a father, how did you come up on this subject of paternity fraud? What hit you about it? And why did you decide to go where you went with it?
Well, I graduated from law school 21 years ago at this point, and I had no intention of ever practicing any sort of family law. But I had children. I went through a divorce, and then I got a crash course in family law from my family law attorney. And then about 5 years ago, I was engaged. I was going to get married. My fiance at the time, she I don't even think we actually made it to fiance, but I was on the cusp. She got pregnant, and then she ran off with the baby. Her plan was to leave Texas, go to California, and have the child so that she could form shop and get a higher amount of money under California jurisdiction. So what I had to do is I had to file suit here in Texas, serve her so that the Texas court would have jurisdiction. Now, some of you all might think, oh man, that's cold-blooded. Why would you sue her while she was pregnant? Because if I hadn't done it then, I would have been beholden to a California court, for the next 18 years. I would have had to fly out there. I would have had to go visit out there. But because I live here and the child was conceived here, then, or at least that's what I alleged. More importantly, I lived here and I filed first. And I took that action. It usurped her attempt to try to form shop and get the most she could for a baby. Wow. And it's unfortunate when you have to accept the fact that a lot of women are in it for a monetary gain. They see these children these days as an ability to make a profit. I guess Mr. Kevin Samuels would say she was in the danger zone, and she saw me as her last opportunity to bag a baller. Wow. As her entertainment career she was heading up to 30, and her entertainment career was coming to an end.
Mhm.
And so why not just put this, this lawyer on the hook, this prominent, up and coming, stable lawyer, who's already a father. He's already a simp, sucker, and soft. Why not just get him for some child support? I may have been paying upwards of $5,000 to $10,000 a month under a California jurisdiction, whereas in Texas we have caps, and I have 2 other children, so it's significantly less. So that sounds to someone who's listening, oh my God, how could you do something like that? But the thing is, I wouldn't have been able to afford my own children, my 2 children that I have here, my life, my lifestyle, or anything if I'd allowed her to gain that procedural advantage, all for one child.
Okay. Forgive me, fellas. There might be a sound issue I want to check on. Mike Ship is saying my mic has an echo. Let me know in the chat if I'm echoing now.
Nope.
You're not. You don't hear an echo.
Nope.
Okay, I'm not seeing any feedback yet on it. So okay. All right, Brother Carnell, if you could tell us a little bit now. If you haven't had a chance again to see the interview, Carnell went into great depth about his experience, and I'm telling you, it's mind-blowing what he went through. But if you could give us, kind of the shorter narrative,
Much certainly will.
tell us how did you come up on this?
Well, I like the way Dennis described it. And I would like to say I got bamboozled into my experience.
Right.
I had a former girlfriend who on February 15th, I broke up with her. She said some things to me, and she said some things to me and pretty much told me that it was a take it or leave it situation. And I said, I'll leave it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And a few months later, she called me up and she said 7 words that no man wants to hear from an ex-wife, an ex-girlfriend, or ex-fiance. And here are these words. I'm pregnant. You are the father.
Yeah, man.
And I'm freaked out. I was like, wait a minute. First of all, congratulations. I hope you and your baby daddy be very happy.
Right.
But why are you calling me? Girl, I ain't seen you in months. Well, she said, you do remember February 14th, right? I'm like, yeah. And that right then, she says, and you're the father. I'm like, dang, man. Trojan man done let me down.
Oh, man. And it's funny when they tell us that we can't do math, but anytime I've seen a brother in that situation, we develop some math skills with that calendar. I'm just gonna say that.
Well, listen, I could do some math. I'm an engineer by trade, and I actually have the title as expert engineer. So I know some math, okay? But here's some things that my father told me. Says if you bring children in this world, you help take care of them. You be a part of their life, right? There's something Dad didn't tell me though. Dad didn't tell me nothing about paternity fraud and that some women will lie, like Counselor said about bag of baller.
Yeah.
All right. I was an engineer by day. I had 8 crews of DJs. We charged $200 an hour, and I was doing corporate function. I show up with a laser jock, lighting, sound, video.
Okay.
We could do the grand ballroom at the Hilton. All right. And she, in my opinion, was not willing to let her brother go.
Okay.
But it took me 11 years later to find out, after she tells me, she gives me another phone call. She says, you don't pay me enough money in child support.
Wow.
Huh? I'm like, what? I'm paying you child support directly. No court order. I'm doing what we want responsible dads to do. We keep telling men to step up, right? And when they step up to the plate, man, when it comes to paternity fraud, man, they get hit in the face with the plate.
Wow.
Yeah.
So my pastor's father talked me into taking a DNA test because every time she went to court with me, my parenting time went from unlimited to twice a week to nothing. And the court ordered me to pay 40% of my net pay I'm married. I got another son. I'm under a court order for the son. Wife is at home, about to have our baby any day now, and she is not going back to work.
Wow.
Needless to say, when my pastor's dad told me to take that DNA test, he says, you really need to take that test. So I take the test expecting to prove to him that the child is mine. I get those results back, and it's double goose eggs, man. It's 0.0%. I feel like I've had a child die in my arms because I'm not allowed to see the child, that I have a court order, and I got joint physical custody.
Right.
But I can't get the court to enforce the judge's own order for custodial interference and parental alienation. So now I find out I'm not the dad. And after I take some time to soak it in, I call my lawyer. I'm like, there's no way this woman doesn't know she was involved with somebody else before she called me. I'm not willing to pay 40% of my net income for a kid that I can't see, that's not mine, and I'm not going to fight her over her kid she had with the other guy. So I subpoenaed her mother, her girlfriend, and her siblings, and I got the whole story that she actually got pregnant by another guy in the adjacent state, and she named that guy in under 30 seconds. So I take it to the court, and I say, well, Your Honor, according to the Georgia statutes, it says if I find a problem with the original order, especially with paternity, within a year, and I found out within 9 months, we should be able to remedy this judgment. And let's treat the whole thing ab initio, void from the beginning, and because it's premised on me being the biological father. Well, guess what? I'm not, and she knows I'm not. And then the judge said, well, it's your fault you didn't find out sooner. I'm like, but Your Honor, how would I know she was visiting another man out of state? So, as you know, once you get it in the record, trial court, I appeal to the state appellate. I point out there's definitely some things flawed here. She knowingly and willingly concealed material facts from the court, from me, and probably from her own attorney, because she made the claim that I was the only possible father. When by truth, had she told the truth, she actually got pregnant 6 weeks after I broke up. You don't need calculus to figure that out, that I was never a possibility, but I was the most financially attractive. Right. You follow me what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I take it to each appellate court, state appellate, state Supreme Court, and everybody sends me back one line and it says petition denied. I also start lobbying for new legislation, because what I found out, the more I went public on the issue, the more I found men and boys who were affected by the issue, cross races, military men, officers, non-officers alike, men who have traveling occupations, the entertainment industry, NFL, NBA, name a sport, we can find a dude who's been tricked. Okay. And I present all this information and got these guys to come testify before a legislative hearing and got legislation introduced. At the same time, I'm keeping my case alive. After every appeal, I follow the next step and take it to the next court. Because at this point, I'm asking, well, doesn't the court have a duty to correct a judgment that was based on a flawed assumption?
Right.
Because everybody thought I was a biological father, including me. But where did the source of that information come from, though? It came from the one person who knew there was at least one or more paternity candidates. And I make the position that she should have an ethical, moral, legal, and at least a common sense duty to disclose before the court, well, there are other potentials. I don't care about her giving the names of them, but when you make an assertion as if that it can't be nobody else, and the DNA says, well, it wasn't him, then in my mind, that's a lie. Okay. So I appeal it, take it all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court, raising the grounds, asking, well, what about subject matter jurisdiction, and what about the issue about involuntary servitude, as well as a couple of other things on the grounds of the law of, well, according to Georgia statute alone, I should have been able to attack the earlier judgment.
Right.
And subject matter jurisdiction in this case was everybody's operating under the assumption that the alleged or the accused is the biological or the adopted father of the child. I'm neither one of those.
Right.
Look, there's no way I'm going to be the adopted father. I'm not the biological father. And again, I want to couch this with, I've had my visitation and parenting time stripped to zero. Wow. What would I get out of staying in that deal for? Nothing. Well, the U.S. Supreme Court required that I send a copy of the legislation that I was lobbying for. I had to put the booklets together for that, ship it, get it to them. So they had 2 meetings on my case. After they read the Georgia legislation, which did pass, by the way, and got signed into law, and I helped write it, they sent me back one liner, said petition denied. And my whole strategy was that if we could get a decision at the high court, it would help men and boys in all U.S. territories, every state, be able to use that case to overturn their case. And none of them would have to do like me, I had to put up $25,000 as a retainer to get started, because my lawyer said, man, we got less than a 50% chance of winning with 2 DNA tests and sworn depositions from the woman, the mother, her friends, and everybody, where everybody admit that Mr. Smith didn't know a thing about the other guy. And I asked these questions before the Judiciary Committee. I says, listen, if I had gone to jail under a false allegation of murder or rape, this same legal DNA test that proves it wasn't me would at least get me a new trial.
You would think.
Based on evidence. Look, not based on feelings, based on theory, based on evidence.
Right.
They said, yeah, but that's criminal court. And that's when I learned the harsh lesson that what your rights are in criminal court and family court, family court is far more invasive and intrusive, and the judge has a whole lot more discretion and can actually overlook and refuse to admit a DNA test and evidence unless there's statutory law to limit the judge's discretion. So that's what I did. I got statutory law passed, and I went back to court after the Supreme Court turned me down, and I used the new law to file an extraordinary motion for a new trial based on evidence.
Oh, right.
And I won, and I'm the first guy to win using the law that I never thought I needed from me.
Right.
I was lobbying for everybody else.
Look, real quick, we got over 250 people watching. We have less than half the likes. Please like the show, support the channel. Make sure we can continue to do this. Attorney Spurling, weigh in on this. And I purposely didn't call you Dennis or Uncle D. I'm saying Attorney Spurling.
Right.
Weigh in on this, sir. What's the deal with this, legally speaking?
Well, just here's my disclaimer. I practice complicated civil litigation, car accidents, 18-wheelers, big insurance companies, and I've since 2017 involved myself in complicated class action, class tort cases. And I do very well, but family law is also in the civil realm. And let me say this, and I don't want to sound too harsh, but a lot of men approach this as if they're playing with a friend, as if this person is still their lover. Yeah. And what you have to do is set all those emotions aside, and you have to deal with the adverse party, the woman and her lawyer, as if they are your stone cold enemy. You cannot be emotional. You cannot be, you can't cut them breaks. You can't assume that they're going to play nice. You have to be ruthless. And so I myself, I'm embroiled in a custody agreement with my ex-wife right now, because even though I spend a lot of time with my children, I technically only get them 6 nights a week for the past a month for the past 11 years. And what I do is I will go pick them up after work and take them to their karate practices and jiu-jitsu practices, just so I can have a couple of hours every day with them. But since quarantine, my ex-wife has decided to over-enforce the custody agreement. And so it got to the point now, I said, well, I'm just going to have to refile, and try to get my custody agreement amended. So it's been difficult for me, and this has been going on since June and July. My sons are 13, they'll be 14 and 12. And so for the past 11 years, they've become accustomed to something. And so now a woman who I have a television show with, who I bought, I mean, this is after the marriage. I purchased a $30,000 4-carat ring that I gave them to give to her, just to say, thank you for being a good mom. I'll pay for her vacation. So all of that aside, I still have to make sure that I don't get caught up in the situation. Now, mind you, I have not had any sort of relation with my ex-wife in 11 years. There's nothing like that going on. I just do that to try to appease her, to try to keep her happy, so she'll keep allowing me. I basically have to pay for time to see my children. And it's unfortunate.
No good deed goes unpunished.
Right. And so what I'm trying to tell you guys is, but at the time when I filed my divorce, I did everything I could. Now when the fight was over, I tried to be nice, but now we're back to a custody battle. And you guys have got to approach this just like it's a war. I say all that to say, you're an idiot if you begin to pay child support without getting a DNA test. The minute a woman says that she's pregnant, you should ask for an in vitro DNA test. So you can get an in vitro DNA test while the woman is still the child is still in her womb. You can literally file. Now, some lawyers will tell, oh, you can't do this. Forget them. Okay. I'm telling you, as a civil litigation attorney, family law is way out there. Okay. You file the lawsuit. By the time the baby is born, you'll have your first hearing. At the time you file the lawsuit, you ask, at that point, I want to establish DNA right now. She can take a DNA test in vitro. So we don't have to wait till this child is born. We can get this out the way now. I don't want to see a baby. I don't want to get my family. I don't want people looking at the child thinking it's mine. We're going to establish this right now. If you're going to go out there with your heart on your shoulder, you're going to get ate up. You need to be ruthless. You need to go ahead and be the minute a woman says, oh yeah, this is your child, you need to go ahead and get that DNA test so you can end all this, because you don't want to end up like Mr. Smith. Years down the road, and he spent $75,000 of his hard-earned money fighting this
150
fighting a fraudster. Money he could have used for his own life and well-being. So I don't, it's just, this is an area of fraud that we overlook because it benefits the government. The government
and the women, because every other area in common law, fraud is supposed to be treated with blinders.
See, the government deems a benefit in having some man available to pay for some child. If they don't pay for it, they understand, they've done the studies. They know women, if they're forced to do things, they'll rather go live under a bridge than pay for 5 children. So the government has to pay for them. And if there's a man who's available to pay, then they'll pick that man, the nearest man available. The other day with O'Shea Duke Jackson, I was talking about the equitable parent doctrine, which basically said you don't even have to be the father. This is a general principle of law. You don't even have to be the biological father or the adopted father. All you have to be is a man who takes up the fatherly role with some children, and then you will be forced to pay. She could then come in and say, well, involuntarily, you can be forced to pay for child support for a child that's not yours. The case that I cited was a Michigan case, I believe from 2005, called Stankovich. And in this case, this court already ruled that this court stated that given its recognition that a person who is not the biological father of a child may be considered a parent against his will and consequently burdened with the responsibility of support for the child. Such a person, in being treated as a parent, may also seek the rights of custody or parenting time. So basically, this court also applied the equitable parent doctrine in later cases. Basically, what the court was saying, well, you know, we've already established that sometimes we can make people pay for children that aren't theirs, but, you know, under the equitable parent doctrine, now we'll just go ahead and let them visit with the child too. Because before you would be forced to pay, but because it wasn't your biological child, because you were some sucker who got put on the hook for a child, that, you know, you shouldn't be able to see the child. But yeah, we acknowledge it's not your child, but you're still going to pay for it. You see how unfair that is?
It's ridiculous. Now let me just quickly say to those who are listening again, here we have attorney Dennis Spurling, right, whom you guys know is going to bring it every time you even hear his name. And then we have another gentleman here who, as he just said, put $250,000 through on this, got policy passed in Georgia, right? And actually
and several other states.
Oh, see, and several other states, took his case all the way to the Supreme Court. You got these brothers up here not only telling you their stories, but giving you insight. And I got to beg y'all to click the like button. I can go over to a couple other channels where it's just somebody just, you know, running off at the mouth and they're not even qualifying their remarks. And I'm not going to name names, but, you know, they get, I'm just like, it doesn't make any sense. You know, it really doesn't make any sense. When I watch these brothers do their work, that, you know, half the time they're not even really even asking for nothing. And there's so little support given. Support the brothers you want to hear from. Support the brothers that have given you information that can change your life. Because I'm going to tell you, 20 years ago, when I was of age to where all this, I never heard any of this. There's it could, this could, and I want Carnell, I want, you know, in a little bit, I want you to get to this in terms of how this impacts boys. You know, something you kind of mentioned a little bit earlier, but I just wanted to drop that to the audience because I'm, you know, when I go to these brothers' channels, brothers who are putting in work, I'm always hearing them have to beg for likes. We're not even talking about donations yet, just likes. And I'm like, come on, y'all, support the ones who are bringing you what you need to hear across the board. But it's
words of wisdom.
I want to pose this question to both of you. In terms of what you've seen, especially in regard to policy, right? How do you think this influences and shapes women's behavior over the last few decades? What have you seen in regard to how these policies change, you know, how women approach men and even conceptualize relationships? And you know what I mean? And I've seen this in terms of grandmothers and mothers and daughters, in terms of what's passed down. But I want to hear from both of you. Starting with you know, the paternity coach himself, and then coming back to attorney Spurling.
Okay, all right. So good. That's absolutely good stuff. What counselor talked about on that equitable parent doctrine. You know, I think that was absolutely one of those same sex cases, right? That originally kicked it off, but now the thing has grown tentacles, and it can be used to snag other people over and beyond because, well, you kind of acted like a parent. If you stepped into the role, I know, listen, after what we have experienced as paternity fraud victims across the nation and add to that equitable parent situation, I know guys are afraid to be seen holding a baby to take a picture with because they're afraid of what the person will take the picture and try to do with it. You follow me? And with that in mind, it's like you almost will start to discourage a mentoring type activity in the neighborhoods. Right. Look, I've been married 30 years. I was a coach and a mentor for the kids Toastmasters Club at a local church, and I gotta be honest with you. There's times I was like, I'll give feedback, but I won't do it if I'm alone. Are you hearing what I'm saying? These days, as men, you got to be cognizant of the optics of how the thing will look, and versus what gets said. All right. But now back to your question, Dr. Hasan, about what have I seen in terms of with women?
Mm.
With some, it has emboldened their sense of entitlement. I've watched them boldly threaten, you better have my money or I'll put you on child support, as if it is a weapon.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And for the guys that don't understand how pervasive they can get into your life with that and flip your program upside down, that is not a veiled threat.
Wow.
Because listen, I had a case where a woman was able to successfully get child support out of 3 men for the same pair of twins. And it was only the third guy whose sister heard me on radio says, man, I think something's funny about what's going on with my brother. And I don't think my brother is the father of these kids. And the way this woman did it was she threatened her ex-husband. She told him, if we go do the child support guidelines, they're going to make you pay me $1,500 a month. But if you work with me and you pay me cash, I'll take $900. He took that deal. Wow. Did you hear that? He took that deal.
Wow.
The former boyfriend, who the husband didn't know nothing about, she did the same thing to him. And then the new current boyfriend, whose sister thought something was funny going on, contacts me saying my brother needs to get a DNA test. Listen, all of a sudden now, the scam gets unraveled because the third guy gets a DNA test and he shares the information with the other 2 guys. Once he finds out about them, hey, everybody need to get a DNA test. Look, that's my position these days. As soon as they make the allegation, and for parents of teen sons, here's why you got to know about this. Any young girl can bamboozle your son, get your son to come to a hospital setting or child support office, and where as a minor, he can't sign anything legally enforceable except if he signs a paternity confession document, what they call voluntary acknowledgement of paternity or the paternity opportunity program. They got these nice, sweet, flowery names.
Right.
But because that boy is a minor, that gives them access to your money.
Yeah.
You gotta understand, he dropped that on me while we were recording the last interview. You know, I almost paused the interview to go talk to my son right at that moment. I'm like, I was a hair away from being like, hold on, brother, I'll be right back.
1 minute.
But listen, women, but guess what? My biggest support group across the nation, legislatively and advocacy wise, are the honest women. Let me tell you who these honest women are. Would be your current wife who thinks your ex is the scammer. And believe it or not, women know some stuff about other women that unless you've been around, you've grown up with a lot of sisters like me. I have 7 sisters and they tried to warn me and I defended the girlfriend against my sister. Big mistake. I've had moms come in and say, look, I will pay for the DNA test for my son because I don't want to get my heart attached to this baby and my money to be attached to this baby. Because if this heifer messes with me and my money, I might have to go over there and clean her clock. Now, this is the alleged grandmother talking. And guess what? I do the DNA test in 3 days. Results come back and her teenage son is not the daddy. And the little fast heifer that's the kids, you know, the baby's mama, she want to question the accuracy of the DNA technology. We don't find the biological father for the baby till 3 more dudes later.
Let me tell y'all, and I'm gonna come to you in a quick second, Dennis, because I want you to tell us what your experiences and reflections have been on the change in women's behavior over the decades in regard to these policies. But I'm gonna tell you the other scary thing, right? Carnell said some of the scariest words you'll hear is "I'm pregnant" and it's your baby. I'm gonna tell you the other scary thing I've experienced. I've had a woman punch the mattress after sex when I either pulled out or had a condom on, like punch the mattress in frustration that I didn't come inside. You want to know how terrifying that is to watch, and this is not somebody you've had any kind of idea would have any plan of anything, that you're just engaging her, you're getting along, you have sex, and once she notices that you did not ejaculate in her, punches the mattress in frustration. I'm gonna tell you, we talk about a shift in behavior. I'm not at all arguing that this is all women or anything, but I am saying on a macro level, when you have a policy, it affects behavior. Come
well, look, why spend money on a lottery ticket? All you got to do is play enough guys. Look, instead of having 6 babies with one guy, 6 babies with each different guy using the child support guidelines is more profitable than the lottery, and she doesn't have to she don't even have to report that income.
Come on in, Dennis. Break us down. Tell me.
I want to share a post that was posted about a decade ago, and this is from a young woman who basically was asking about the equitable parent doctrine. Since we are on that, you can allow it to come into the screen real quick. I'll read it out loud for your audience. It says, "Can you make a male babysitter pay child support? I'm a single mom going to college with my sister. We currently rent an apartment together. A couple of weeks ago, I asked my neighbor, a trustworthy guy, if he could watch the kids for 2 hours while I went to class and my sister wasn't home. He agreed. If he babysits and doesn't accept pay, can I sue him for support because he took on the fatherly role? I'm sure I can convince the court that he accepted the fatherly role." So when the question is presented whether or not women's mindset has changed over the past 40 years, my answer is emphatically yes. They see this as an opportunity to come up. They see this as this is a money grabbing scheme. And until we do something about it, it's not going to change. I'm going to give you 2 cases, 2 celebrities that we all know, Shaquille O'Neal and Chris Brown. If you guys remember, Shaquille O'Neal was living in Florida at the time he filed his divorce. He realized that his wife allegedly had been taking money from his bank account or whatever. I don't know. I don't know the stories. I'm just going to say allegedly. So he filed for divorce. She then at some point we'll say this, they reconciled. I won't say she convinced him to get back together. I'm sorry. Let's do it again. She then reconciled with him. She immediately moved to Los Angeles and refiled the lawsuit for divorce. He had initially filed in Florida, so a Florida court had jurisdiction. So instead of getting a Florida divorce with Florida numbers, she moved to California and got California numbers. Any trial lawyer can tell you that. Anybody, you can Google that and see the difference in the child support systems. So yeah, did she venue shop? Is that something that we talk about in law school? That's one of the basic things they do. So to think that women don't know what they're doing, you're just fooling yourself. The second case.
So real quick, before you go into the second one, is it safe to say that when you get the knock on the door in July and you answer it and she's got a trench coat on and y'all have broken up, is it safe to say that you need to think about that situation?
You need to think about that seriously. I mean, I'm here. I don't give relationship advice on my page. I let brothers speak and I try to give them the same advice that I would give my own sons. And that's the measuring stick. That's the yardstick I use as to what I would say to black men. There's some things I do. I wouldn't want y'all to do them because, Uncle D is on the boat with a bunch of women sometimes. I wouldn't tell you guys to do that. You see what I mean? I'm always going to try to give you good, ethical, moral advice. And I'm telling you, I would tell my own sons, look, man, leave that girl alone, man. There's 4 billion other women out there. You know something shady is up, man. At some point, you got to cut her loose. She's gotten a chance to revamp. That's why when you file a divorce, you don't unfile it. You always go all the way through, because now that she's seen your plan and your game plan and you caught off guard, she's never going to trust you again. If it's over, it's over. Don't threaten to file a divorce. Just file a divorce and move out. You see what I mean? Just file a divorce and deal with the repercussions. Don't ever give her a second chance, because once she gears up, it's already in her favor. You see what I mean? The system is already set up in her favor. Now, the other thing I want to talk to you guys about Chris Brown, and this went the other way. As you guys know, Chris Brown is a famous singer. He is a citizen of California. Apparently, his lady was a citizen of Texas, Houston, Texas. She was pregnant. He went ahead and filed suit here in Texas because we have caps on child support. Whether you make the $10 million a year or $100,000 a year, the top amount of money you have to pay in Texas is $2,500. Or that's it. Yeah, and I know black folks don't like Republicans. I get that, but it's the Republicans who came up with this, which is called the golden baby rule. We don't play that here. So this capped at $2,500. You can't get more, no matter what, unless the child is handicapped or something like that. But other than that, any normal, healthy children is 25. So she fought and tried to get the jurisdiction changed in California, and he would not dismiss the paternity suit. Kind of similar to mine, because my ex-girlfriend tried to get me to, well, you should dismiss it. Oh, you're stressing me out. I'm having your baby. How dare you do something like this? Oh my God, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, nah, and then she moved to Florida. What about Florida? Like, no, I don't like those laws either. We've already established that the case is going here in Texas. So he didn't relinquish. He continued forward the suit. Now Chris Brown can live his life and not have to pay $50,000 or $60,000 a month. Right. Because all he has to pay is 25, and she's stuck with that. That's it. And so that's a case where a man took the initiative and protect his wallet. I say this, and I hope y'all remember this and y'all live by this. You can't let a woman ride in on a mule and ride out with the castle.
Ooh,
okay?
Goodness.
Mic drop.
Yeah. My lawyer, my family law lawyer, he's an old school brother. When I was going through my divorce and I was sniveling and whining, he said, you married her. I'm just trying to get you out of it.
Right.
Nobody's gonna feel sorry for you, fellas. You gotta watch your wallet. Okay? You gotta protect yourselves, because you will not be able to move on with your life if you got some woman digging in your pockets. No other woman wants to come in and 25, 40% of your income is being snatched away by another woman that you dealt with 10 years. Y'all might as well still be in a relationship. So stop being weak. Stop trying to be gentlemanly. Stop assuming these women are just sugar and spice and everything nice. That's the negative side of chauvinism. Yeah. Treat them like they're human beings. Treat them like they will do everything that another human being will do to preserve to preserve their own interests or do what's in their own best interest. And when you take that attitude and you take the emotions out of it, and you do what's in your own best interest, you'll be a lot better off.
So what you're talking about is really reevaluating chivalry, because we were all taught that that's how we were supposed to act. But one of the things I noticed, even
that's used against us.
Doc, if it was another man coming up to you trying to steal your wallet, it could have $1 in it or $10. You would fight him with.
You see that?
Right now, what if a man came to you another man came to you every month after you cash your check at the bank and said, "Give me 40% of what you got in your pocket right now"? You would fight him to death. Yeah, but when your woman says, "You need to give me 40% of everything you have and don't ask me no questions or nothing like that," "You okay, honey?" "Yes, dear." That makes you weak. And that's why these women don't respect men, because they haven't had to, especially black men, because we've been told what? Oh, the black woman is the queen mother. Whatever she says is right. We've been conditioned to that. And so that's one of those things why black men in particular, along with the other socioeconomic problems that we have, that's why one of those reasons why we fail. We fail when it's time to defend ourselves. And I'm telling you, brothers, you're going to have to do better. I can't help it. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, but this is why I brought in Calvin earlier, and why I talked about the things you guys are doing behind the scenes. And I was glad that Carnell weighed in on the stuff he's doing with boys, because if you look at it, most of us, obviously in the black community, upward toward 80%, are raised in single parent households that are female led. And when you factor in school, right, over 90% of the teachers are female. So, and if you talk about college, the majority of the faculty and staff and student population are female. All the way
lack of masculinity.
Absolutely. So structurally speaking, from birth all the way through graduate school, you are primarily in spaces that are female led. So we are conditioned in many ways to serve women, to prioritize women, and not think about ourselves. Hence the whole following on your sword type of chivalry being posed to us as the standard of masculinity. and yet it tends to lead to this. The other point I wanted to bring up, going to something Dennis said a moment ago, is when you look at what feminists were doing, particularly in the 70s and the 80s, there was a slim period of time when they were arguing that alimony was a form of oppression. Right? They argued that alimony was a form of oppression, and they needed to break from patriarchy in terms of doing that. But after a few years, they started to notice that women weren't transitioning into being these independent workers the way feminists envisioned that they should. So all of a sudden, child support, became twofold. It became about financing the child and making up for what feminists had initially pushed away in terms of alimony support. So then you started to get these crazy kinds of demands on what kind of payments you should get. I'm saying this as a father who has, I'm a widower, I'm a father. I've been raising my son for the last 12 years by myself. Children are not that expensive.
No, exactly.
I put it that way. Look, go ahead.
You can exactly see that the child, suddenly the cost for raising a child costs more just by changing the address from my house to her house.
Get it?
And I'm like, wait a minute. When the kid and her were under my roof, we didn't spend that much money. There's no way if we were under one roof, I would spend 40% every month of the incoming money on the child, because that's over and above what the needs were for the child. I mean, I'm talking about after having fully funded a college fund for the child, took care of extra things, extracurricular things. Let's be honest with you. There's a lot of us in the men's right advocacy groups. We refer to that as hidden alimony, because mother doesn't have to give any account for how it's spent, where it goes. But I'm gonna say something that I think that counselor could echo is a lot of guys from my working with the fatherhood program initiative for over 6 years is they think how much they love the child and how much they pay are connected, and they get duped on that one. They get manipulated and they get completely fugabooed on. I'm like, fellas, you got to get out of it. I says, man, you are self-sabotaging your own future. I says, listen, I wouldn't pay a dime over what the guideline does. And I says, if the child needs anything else, then I'll take care of it while I got them with me.
I mean, there's a reason why your heart is up here and your wallet is down back to back. You're not connected.
I like that. I like that, Uncle D.
You gotta. Unfortunately, we have a simp culture, as the young brothers say. Brothers call them simps. I think that actually came from E40 from back in the day. It was from my era. But you brothers, you get your, you lead with your wallet. I'm a real man. I pay my bills. I'm a real man.
I handle mines.
And then next thing you know, you're a broke man complaining, contemplating, offing yourself, drinking and using drugs, going to the strip club. And you can't find a decent woman to move on because you let this last woman play you, and now you're mad at all the rest of the women because you allowed yourself to get played.
Set yourself up.
And so what I'm trying to tell you, brother, and see, it's only so much I can do, Doctor, because see, Doc, when I talk to he's mean. Look, I've had every woman that loves me, other than my wonderful, lovely, soon-to-be fiance, who's different and from a different culture. They've all told me that I'm evil. Okay, they literally said, my baby mom, my ex-wife, and my mama, you evil, because I treat them just like they're equal. I treat them like you're a human being.
Treat her like a dude.
And I'm not going to play this game with you. This is not going to happen. And if you don't like it, well, that's fine. You're grown up. I'm going to go about my business. I wish more Black men would develop this mentality. Some people would call you treacherous. They would call you ruthless. But the thing is, I have to make sure that I can take care of myself and my sons and maintain my house and maintain my life and my future. It's not selfish because I don't want to give some woman an exorbitant amount of money for child support. It's not selfish because I want to spend equal time with my children. That's not selfish. That's just me being a human. And so what I want you brothers to do is you got to develop thick skin. I know a lot of us are conditioned to be soft and nice and weak, and we think that's paying for this and paying for that, but that's not. That just makes you look like a fool, bro.
I want you guys to take a look at something. This was something we developed amongst the Onyx Report supporters last summer, basically heading into the election. Right, what I noticed is I couldn't find a political agenda that spoke directly to Black men. Right, and whenever I saw a Black political agenda, it was kind of generic and it was what it was, but often it would lean in directions that prioritize women's issues as if Black men didn't have them. And when I saw interviews with groups of Black men, when there was a short time period where candidates would even ask, because y'all remember they had the whole get on the poll and vote campaign with the strippers trying to get Black men to vote, which was ridiculously patronizing. But
that was buffoonery, in my opinion.
No, it was. And when they asked Black men what your concerns were, many could not articulate them because we had not really sat down and talked about what our list of issues were. So this is compiled with over, with the support of over 10,000 subscribers, and we developed the Black Male Political Agenda. Now, you'll notice number one. Now, let me just say, if you go all the way down to the bottom, you'll find there's 14 points, and many of them have subpoints. Many subpoints, but the number one point on here was family court reform. The very first issue, and for those of you who haven't seen this, I'm gonna go ahead and put the link in the chat. It's basically newblackmasculinities.wordpress.com. It's my blog, and I keep it as a pinned blog at the top, even though I'm still making more. But the very first issue is family court reform, and the very first issue under that, the sub issue is child custody should automatically be 50-50. Right now, this is not written by me. This is written by brothers who are bringing in ideas based on their own experiences. So the first thing they opt for was 50-50 custody. The second thing was mandatory paternity testing at birth. That was the next thing. Right after that, reinstituting at-fault divorce standards. They talked about a financial abortion. And have the right to choose what to do with their bodies. Men should have the right to opt out. We heard Dave Chappelle joke about it, but he did it in a brilliant way. He said, if you get to kill him, I should at least be able to abandon him. And if I'm wrong, maybe we're wrong. But so he talked about a financial abortion. That was another option. Child support value system. Institute a system where goods, services, and time spent with a child is calculated and valued at a dollar amount. He also talked about, there's another one here that I thought was key to the conversation. Here we go. Require formal child support management reports. Ensure that child support payments are earmarked specifically for approved child-related expenses only.
And not a windfall to mom.
Exactly. Payments used on non-child related expenses must be accounted for by the custodial parent. Any thoughts about these?
Definitely.
I like that.
Look, I support those. I do legislative support even now, saying that, look, children should start out with equal custody of both parents. But that's not the case today. If the father is unmarried, unless he knows some things from the beginning and start prepping and getting prepared, when he hears these words and he's taking that step, like Uncle D said, he's done that prenatal test and it came back, yep, issue, bro, you stuck like that. Well, guess what? That's the time he need to be putting his strategy in place. Otherwise, guess what happens? The unmarried father, he starts out at 0 in most states. So mom gets 100% as the de facto custodial parent, and he has to go make a compelling case. But yet, what do we keep hearing again and again in PSAs and when they want to throw these statements at us? You men need to step up the plate. They claim we have fatherlessness in the neighborhoods and in the community. I'm like, bull feathers. I call bull feathers on that. I said, there's a lot of dads not involved because they got to fight through the mother and the grandmother. I says they are being active thwarters of that dad being involved because he won't have a relationship with her. And she's just trying to prove a point now about manipulation and control. Well, you better have my money.
Here's, and we actually had a conversation about this the other night. The first thing I would say is do away with any financial incentive that exists
Yes.
for a divorce. Do away with any financial incentive that exists to actually have a child out of wedlock. Now, it's easier to tackle the financial incentive. Now, look, let me tell you this, fellas. If you've been with a woman for 20, 30 years, you know, and you built a business up with it, you're going to have to help, right? You can't just leave her for a younger woman, and then that ain't right. That's not, even the Bible and the Holy Quran talk about that. That goes way back. You can't do that, okay? But if you have a child with a woman and y'all are not married, there should be 50-50 custody off top, and there shouldn't be any child support required unless there's a reason why there can't be 50-50 child support. And that is only a temporary modification until there can be 50-50 child support. In other words, what you're doing now is you're putting as much, there's not going to be any money exchange unless this child is a handicapped child, unless the father is, let's say, overseas in the military, he can't spend, or they've worked something out, but there should be 50-50 child support. Now, here's another thing. This is going to bother some people. We need to do a residency restriction. You cannot live further than one contiguous county away from where the parents are. In other words, y'all had that baby somewhere. That's where you guys need to stay. So what that does is it guarantees that the children will go to the same school that in either place, and on top of that, you eliminated child support. Guess how much the out of wedlock birth rate would drop if women wouldn't get any money from anybody.
Because it wouldn't be profitable.
Yeah, there's no more profit in it. As long as you keep feeding that with money, then it's going to keep going. It's just like the welfare system. As long as you keep rewarding women to have children outside of wedlock, they will. It's human nature. Right. Any one of you idiot legislators that's listening to me right now, any one of you judges that's listening to me, try it for a year. I promise you, it'll work. But but go ahead.
Can I weigh in on the policy side that's driving this?
Go ahead. Please.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. So at the federal level, there is the Social Security section, is Social Security Title 4D, Section 458.
Get it.
That provides the bonuses and the financial incentives to the states to finance the child support enforcement program. So what it does is it provides those states with metrics that they have to meet every year. One of those metrics is they got to improve their paternity establishments. It doesn't say they have to be accurate paternity establishment. They just got to improve their numbers. So one of the things they put in place with that was the paternity acknowledgement program in the hospitals. And they crafted this program beautifully, is to take advantage of that guy emotionally, get him to hold that baby, tell him how much that baby looks like him. And he is emotionally disarmed. He doesn't have legal representation. He is not prepared to make an 18 to 21 year decision. And your teen boy and a grown man alike can sign right there for the obligation and the responsibility to pay and have no rights to the child. All right. Yeah. The next thing is that they have to have an improvement on their child support collections. So if we're improving our program, and our program is what? It is incentivized to set maximum amount of child support based on minimal contact with the non-custodial parent. And since over roughly 80% of the custodial parents are moms, then we know that roughly 80% of the non-custodial parents are dads. So it is structured and set up so to ensure you get maximum dollars collected, you minimize the amount of time the kid gets with the dad, unless the dad knows how to be an effective advocate for himself and come in and talk about how it's in the child's best interest that this child have frequent and consistent contact with both sides of their family and not just my wallet. Now, that bonus pool is over $500 million. And listen, I had a state governor reject legislation that we had gotten passed through the Assembly and through the Senate for reforming paternity fraud, because somebody told him if he signs that bill, he vetoed it because he said they told him that he would lose $40 million in child support money. He didn't give a flip about the civil rights of the military men that his own state in multiple bases, where one chapter of paternity fraud victims had over 600 military men who were victims of paternity fraud. And many of these guys got tagged under an incorrect default judgment while they were actively deployed in combat.
And you can't even take a default judgment against an active military person in any other sense. If I have
any other area of law, you can't do that.
Let me tell you something. Here, as I said before, I deal with car accidents, right? So if I want to take a default judgment against a missing party, I have to certify to the court, and I literally have to go check the registry, the military rolls, and all that to make sure he's not a military in person or on duty, active duty military person. Otherwise, they won't allow me to take a default judgment. It's only after I certify under penalty of perjury and possibly a reversal of that judgment that they will allow me to do that. But in family court, yeah, sure, we'll take defaults against military guys. So what does that tell you? And brother, and Carnell, Mr. Smith, what state was that? What state was that?
You mean where the governor vetoed?
Yeah, you don't have to name the governor, but what state was it?
I'll name him. Governor Gray Davis in the state of California.
And look, let me tell you guys something. I'm gonna tell y'all this. Okay, let me get up closer to you guys. All right. I know that we've been told that those conservatives are bad guys. I know that. But there's a reason that 20% of black men voted for that guy that just got kicked out of office. Because as I said before, here in the state of Texas, with these conservatives, okay, and look, we know they are Confederate flag flying, all that. We get that part too, right? I don't want you guys to but as far as watching your wallet, okay, there's a reason why 20% of black men went that way and voted red instead of blue. Okay, there's a reason why, because we're quickly realizing that one of the major two parties has the best interest of black women in hand. And the other major of the two parties kind of tend to go with what we are kind of looking for. And men are slow. I've always been a lifelong Democrat. I've always voted for all the presidential. But see, the thing is, what I'm noticing, these policies that they're coming up with don't favor men. They don't favor money earning patriarchal men, with 62% of black men entering into the middle class, 20% of which have become elite, high earners, rich, whatever you want to call it. Our political ideology, our political needs are now no longer tied to the needs of African-American women. We're not tied at the hip anymore. We're just different. 51% of black men don't have children and aren't married. Okay. 31% of black men are married, of which about 25% of those guys are married to women outside the race. It's only about 18 to 20% of black men who are married with children. Maybe those guys share more with the 70 to 80% of women who have children, black women who have children outside of wedlock, but our needs are different. Yeah. I don't want to pay all those taxes. I darn sure don't. We need some reform. And I'm telling you, the best place is going to happen if you get one of them, what do you want to do? Anything, come on up here. That's who you need in office, not a Gray Davis. Okay,
go ahead.
No, he's not going to cut you any favors, okay, because he's beholden to another group. Now, whatever your political affiliation is, I'm telling you to vote your own interest and watch a while. All right.
Yeah, I think a lot of people do that, but just, as a legislative consultant, I have my personal political ideology, but when I'm lobbying for family law reform, I have to lay that aside. I got to work with whoever got voted to the seat.
Yeah.
So I'll work with you if you libertarian, if you from the Communist Party of America, if you're Democratic or Republican, I'll work with you. Yeah. To give you an idea of how effective that has been, is that we got the legislation passed through both houses in California. And in my own state, okay, which is a red state, okay, going more purple, all right. But irregardless of that, I was able to get the House of Representatives to vote 163-0 in favor of the bill. Wow. That's all parties. In the Senate, I got 45-5, and I got a Democratic governor to sign it. And I'm a fiscal conservative. It's not about political ideology, because what I was talking about, it was not a political issue. It was a human rights issue, and men and boys are getting beaten with the stick.
Yeah.
You hear me? Not getting the short end of the stick. They were getting beaten down, being told you should be quiet. You should just shut up and take it. And I position the fact that, listen, when you do this to this man, then you're setting this system to stay in place to do this to her own son later.
Yes.
And look, and for you brothers who think you can escape, let me tell you something I found out recently. If you have a child, I know a lot of the brothers, SYSBM, save yourself, black man, we're gonna go overseas and get some of these overseas women pregnant. They know the game too. Okay.
If you go get American.
Do you know that the Dominican Republic and Jamaica and many of those islands have a special agreement with both Florida and New York? That if you get one of their lovely ladies down there pregnant, they will put you on child support and have your money being sent down to Kingston or Santo Domingo. So you can't escape it. You're not going to be able to, if you are an American citizen, if your feet touch this soil at any point, your girlfriend down in Colombia, okay, your beautiful woman in Thailand, all of them send a little email out to a family law lawyer here in the US of A and grab your ass.
Is that what they call the long arm statue? Look, the long arm statue will reach over and catch your wallet.
It will snatch you right up like that and get that wallet, man. Get that 25 and have a whole family in Thailand living like kings and empresses.
Absolutely.
Okay?
Especially
so it's nothing you got to get the law changed, fellas. You can't run
exactly.
And I think what that speaks to is that black men, especially, we have to become far more politically savvy. So we fall into this,
and it's not that hard. Listen, it's not that hard.
But I'm hearing both of you advocate for that, because if you didn't see, Dennis did a video just before the election last fall that was powerful, where he broke down, just the whole question of politics and where black men should stand, and really what I heard him saying, and I think I hear something similar from Carnell, is that we got to become more savvy. We can't fall into this Manichaean one against the other kind of play, because our set of needs are very unique. Our situation is extremely unique. There's no other group that are living like black men. It's really not happening. So we have to develop a politic that complements our experience. And in many respects, there is a large gap between how we experience the world and even how black women experience the world. And I don't say that, in this desire
like having to talk.
No, but I'm saying I don't say this as an attempt to jab. I'm saying we live two different qualities of life. Absolutely, because of policy, and that's one of the things I want to get. Look, when I get students that come into my classroom for the first time and they're taking Africana Studies, and when I ask them, when do you think the black family broke down? I get two responses. The first response is it broke down. That's the first response. Right?
Oh, they're oblivious.
And and they're kids, they're 17, and the second response is slavery. And I'm saying no. It broke down in my lifetime. In my lifetime, the black family broke down. Now that doesn't mean anything to them, because after the age of 20, they just think, as far as
old,
I'm 70 years old. I had them once ask me what the civil rights, what the March on Washington was like in 1960. I was like, I wasn't born yet. I'm not. They have no sense of age in that sense. But my only point being, the idea that the black family broke down in the latter part of the 20th century, especially in relation to policy, a lot of them don't know that. I mean, this is something that when we talk about this question of, if you take this kind of political stance we're talking about, one of the things you'll hear is that you must hate women.
That's a shaming tactic. That's a shaming tactic.
Matter of fact,
make you back up off of that conversation.
It's a red herring. It's a red herring, and it's meant to throw you off.
The very first comment on this video, before we even started it, I don't know if it was, I didn't remove it. I don't know if it's still there, but the first response to this is, who hurt you? Right? That's the common refrain. And the idea is that we hate women. The issue is not about hating women. It's about understanding the ways in which the family was undermined using policy. Women were conditioned to see us as lottery tickets. And if you take what both of you are talking about, if you shift the policy, It doesn't take more than a generation to really, or two at best, at most, to shift the dynamic of the family. But the incentives work against the interests of the family and prioritize her. And she's gotten to the point where she sees it as a right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What I said about entitlement. What did I say about entitlement?
Absolutely. And when you call it an entitlement, she calls you a misogynist, because to her, it's not something she gained through policy. It's just something that exists because she exists. It's just there.
Listen, that's like the people who tell me about healthcare should just be free to all. And when you ask them, well, okay, well, the money's got to come from somebody to pay for it, right?
Okay.
And you know, those of us who are in middle, upper, you know, income don't want to pay 49% of our income when we have a huge base of people who pay no taxes at all, don't want to work, and are willing, are capable of working. Mind you, I'm all for helping people who need help, need a hand up. You with me? I'm all for helping in that capacity. But when I had family members who could work and they was like, man, what you doing, man? I'm just chilling, man, till I get my check, man. I'm waiting on the 1st and I'm waiting on the 15th. Now, those same family members laughed at me when I worked 3 jobs to pay my way through college and graduated in the top 3 of the class, not 3%. I was 3rd in the class. And those, you know, that work ethic that my father and our moms, you know, encouraged us to pursue and with a spirit of excellence, it gave me more opportunities. And I'm not saying that's the only way somebody can excel in life. Entrepreneurship will work, but at some point you got to commit to a spirit of excellence, putting your best foot forward, in order for it to pay off. But when you do start to manifest some fruit in it, you don't want to give it all up in taxes. Especially to a base of people who are able to work, but they figured out, wait a minute, hold on, I get this much if I have 2 babies. Oh shoot, I'm gonna have 4 more.
Right.
You know,
it's a monetary incentive put in place. But just for your edification, Dr. T. Hasan Johnson, I have created, along with Mr. Donovan Johnson, 20 typical black woman responses to factual and logical arguments. And so I put the link in my chat room. So on page 1, number 3, it states, say he is only calling out black women's foul behavior because he's bitter or has been hurt, or say he has some type of mental problem. The best reply is, you seem to be focusing on my likely motivation. Nevertheless, even if you are correct in your assessment to my motivation, that does not change the truth of the assessment of your behavior. So I put that link in there. Feel free to use it. There's 20 of them. And because they've used these so often, I mean, some of, you know, the attempts at emasculation, they're there. It's there for everyone. It's free to the public. It's another public service from Attorney Dennis Spurling and friends. All yours.
I like that, counselor. I like that. But I've encountered that too, even when I'm lobbying for legislation, right, at for family law reform. Why must improving the situation for dads and kids be viewed as a loss for mothers?
Yes.
Right. Because it is, bro. Because you messing with their money, man.
But here's what I said. Look, I said at some point these ladies need to have enough income paid in the Social Security system for them to be able to have something meaningful down the road. I said,
asking them to be responsible. I can't believe you were doing that. You must hate women, Mr.
Exactly.
Smith.
Exactly. And I was saying, listen, look at how much. Look at all this. If the father has a child half of the time, look how much time she has to be able to develop her marketable and educational skills so she can be gainfully employed above minimum wage. I mean, why would we shouldn't be holding her back. Let's help her.
And let me tell you guys something else, because I know there's some of these lovely ladies out there are thinking this. They're saying they just should have chose better. They just should have chose better women. None of my girlfriends I don't put nobody on child. I know that's what you're saying right now. And my response to that is, it's not that you haven't, it's that others have. And on top of that, we want to eliminate that particular opportunity. We want to eliminate that avenue. See, we want to obliterate that. See, the reason that a lot of women who don't have their husbands on child, or who don't have their men on child support, that they still support those women who are exploiting this system is just in case they have to. They want that opportunity to be there. You see, it's the reason why you could have a woman with a PhD who's an upstanding woman out here defending women's behavior, like the behavior of what's the young lady's name? Fine from Texas. I forget her name, man. The WAP girl, the two WAP girls. Fine, what's the name? Cardi B and
Cardi B.
Yeah, they some fine women. But the reason you have women defending that behavior is because they want to have the opportunity to maybe do that, and if they want to, and they don't want to feel ashamed about it. So I get that, ladies, but we're telling you this is a problem. We're telling you that the exploitation of the child support system, separating men from their children, parental alienation, is a problem. It's part of the reason why the Black family has been utterly decimated in the past 20 to 30 years. And we, as responsible thinking men, have to do something about it. And you ladies should step out of the way so that we can.
Well, and I'm getting requests in the comments if you could put that link to those talking points in the chat there.
Yeah. A matter of fact, I'll share the first page of it with you if you allow that in, and for you all perusal. And then I'll go ahead and put the link in for everyone to see. It's in the chat room. The link I'll put the share screen up for you, Doc. Is there.
Let me see.
And
okay,
there you go. We have 1 through 20 hand typed out for everybody. We're gonna so that's there, because these you need to be prepared. Just keep it handy. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and take this down. Y'all can find the rest after you find that first one. Okay, I'm here to help. I'm here to. I done got silly now, man.
No, that's good stuff. That's not silly. That's mindset shifting.
I also wanted to point out, like, we talk about the impact on behavior. One of the reasons I brought that up is because it comes back in so many different ways, that especially as a young man, if nobody has sat you down and explained what the motivation is and what ways it can present itself, sometimes, certain women's actions will go over your head. There are things that I experienced that I'm telling you, it wasn't nothing. You can call it the Most High, the universe, the ancestors. It wasn't nothing but blind luck that got me through some of these situations that I just wasn't prepared for. I didn't know what people's motivations could be, especially from little old me. I didn't see it. So some of these things I want to kind of get on the record in terms of how they can tend to happen. So, for example, I had a situation where there was a woman I used to date when I was doing my master's, and she called me 15 years later while I was here in Fresno, and she said, "Look, if you just will get me pregnant, will be a housewife. You can pay the bills, and I will be the best housewife you've ever seen." And blah blah blah. I laid eyes on her for 15 years. You know what I mean? And so by the time, what dawned on me is, if you calling somebody from 15 years ago, you didn't call a few people for whatever it is you try.
She's hit the wall.
Well, she post wall.
Well, yes, absolutely. But at a different time in my life, I wouldn't have understood, those kind of things. And I'm just saying, but when you align this with what we're saying about policy, some policy, you can then better see why she's making that call. I mean, even in the last 5 years, I've had women come up and ask me, "Look, I promise not to take you to family court if you just let me have a baby."
And you can't negotiate child support away ahead of time. It's not like a prenup where you can arrange what you'll get after the marriage. That the child support system, that's subject to whatever the regime of the law in the state where you file it. The governing law says so. She can't even do that. Even if you get some sort of order, it doesn't matter. So don't do that. And here's another thing: you got a lot of these artists, they're millionaires. Look, baby, put me on child support. I'll give you $1 million. I'm gonna just pay you up right now for this 18 years. In 2 years, she'll be coming back and ask for an increase, and you got to give her some more money. It doesn't work like
Or
Don't-
worse, look, or worse, they'll say, well, any money that you gave before we established this court order will be treated as a gift. I've
Yeah.
seen that done in family court too.
Yep.
Ooh.
Yep.
Look,
Yep.
and I know men who they'll keep the receipts for their rims,
Mhm.
for the parts they done customized and tricked out their car. They got every receipt down to every nut bolt.
Mhm.
But he
Yeah.
won't keep his receipts on money he gave baby mama.
I got a better one for you, Mr. Smith. I've seen situations where women will take the man's money under the table all the way up to the child is about 15 to 16 years old, then turn right back around and put the man on child support through the court system and get 16 years worth of back child support plus arrears.
Plus
so now
interest.
he has to pay $200,000-$300,000 in child support, which includes the arrears, and she's already received the money. I know another guy, his daddy is paying child support for a 45-year-old child.
Yep.
Because of the arrears that went into place. So
look,
don't
that child support arrears is not bankruptable.
No.
You can't discharge it. And thanks to the Bradley Amendment, that at the federal level, they cannot go retroactively modify that child support.
Yeah.
You might be able to petition a state to waive the interest, but you can't do squat with the principal. And by the way, if they do waive any of that interest, you're at the mercy of the particular judge you happen to walk in front of that day.
And let me tell you, they say black men owe 150 million or 150 billion dollars.
Yeah,
I heard this, but see, here's what you guys got to understand. Some woman went into the Medicaid office. They asked her to fill out a form and say who's the father as she was applying for Medicaid, and whether he was the father or not, that man is now responsible for paying his portion of that Medicaid bill. And this has been going on for the past 40 or 50 years. So a lot of that is not this man is in arrears and he hadn't paid child support. It's this woman has gotten this free health care for this child, that child, that child. Might not even be the child's daddy, because they did a study in the UK and it showed that 30% of men are paying for children that aren't even theirs. So we have to assume that the same and similar numbers here. So that's where that child support, I didn't get a chance to say that on Fox a couple of weeks ago, but that's where that's coming.
No, and that's incredibly important, because I point this out whenever this subject comes up. I cite David J. Pate, Associate Professor of Social Work at University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee, and he made a statement that I thought was profound. He said the government is owed $115 billion in child support, but 70% of that is owed by Americans who make less than $10,000 a year.
Right.
Which is what you and I talked about, Hasan, is that that proves to me that the child support was never established based on his income.
Yes.
Because a lot of these guys, when I've met them, like in the fatherhood program, they had a choice. They could either be in my program or go to jail. But if you were in my program, they would pay for you to get up to an associate's degree. And I was trying to incentivize and motivate the brother. Says, instead of you looking at this, man, what she did to you, I said, you turn this thing into an opportunity, man. You could put yourself financially ahead of the game and never ever look back. But that whole thing, though, on that they call it now, they deem it to be uncollectible for the most part. All right. But a person who has been making 10 grand a year, there's no way you could have ever used the child support guidelines to have set him up with an arrears for 100,000 when he hadn't grossed 100,000 in 10 years, which means you would have had to take 100% of what he made and apply to child support. So one of the things I lobbied for was that there needs to be a self-support reserve in the child support calculations, because that man has to eat to be able to go back to work to the next pay period. And if he can't take care of himself, sad to say it, I've seen guys make the mistake thinking that, well, I'm gonna jump from job to job and try to make some money in between the time they catch up with me with the income deduction order. And what he doesn't know is some rules have been changed. Now, if you get $2,501 behind in arrears, you can be convicted. Listen to it. You can be charged and convicted as a third-degree felon for child abandonment. So you cross that state line now, we could send the FBI to pick your black behind up and drag you back. And once you get classed as a felon, I know what happens to my security clearance. I know what happens to my employability in a high trust industry. And by the way, they see no reason to reduce the child support because if you got convicted, they said you got convicted because of your own actions. So we're not going to reduce the child support. Now, that's going to put the guy on a carousel getting out of jail.
Yeah.
And he's going to go back to jail.
Look, we got 368 likes. Like the broadcast, please support the channel. But I want to say, and I've said this before on my show, but it's pertinent at this moment. I have a stepfather here in Fresno, right? He's in his early 70s. He has cancer. He shines shoes for a living. The man doesn't take a dime from nobody without working for it. To this day, he is still paying child support on my stepbrother, who's a month younger than me. I'm 46. Here's the kicker. His ex-wife, my stepbrother's mother, she died in the early 90s. He's still paying child support on her now with cancer in his 70s. This is no joke.
That's
this is why I'm up here talking about this, because these policies have us shackled in a way that our women do not experience. In fact, they benefit from, which is part of the schism that has separated Black men and women and produced that entitlement that I've talked about, that Brother Carnell's talked about, Brother Dennis has talked about. It's produced a very divergent way of seeing the world. And this is one of the things I'll be doing probably in the next week and a half. I'm going to be doing a broadcast on the Institute for Black Male Studies, and it's going to deal with the 10 policies that broke the Black family. So look out for that. That's coming soon. But
1970s through the 80s.
You know, and the other thing, there's something I wanted to respond to that Brother Dennis said a little while ago when you were talking about, you know, the kinds of things that, you know, negotiations that, you know, men can make with women that end up hurting them in the long run. I'm sticking on this theme of scary things that I've seen and experienced. And this is one of the scariest things I've ever seen. I was dating a woman, and she came to visit me because, you know, I'm in Fresno. So anything I do is going to end up being long distance. You know, it is what it is. Nobody wants to really move to Fresno. But she came to visit, and I got up the next morning, and she was sitting in my living room on the couch with her attorney, working out how to find more and more of her ex-husband's money. And they were doing
red flag, man. Get out of there. Run.
Family, his distant cousins, they were pretending to be other people to get information. And I'm sitting in the hall, I'm standing in the hallway. She's sitting on the couch, and she's got a pen and paper, and they jotting down their battle plan, and I'm listening. And I'm like, and I just hear this voice in my head, that can be you. And in a very short period of time.
And just think, he married her for love. He fell in love.
There it is.
Look, and that was his boo. She'll never do him wrong.
Loved her so much.
Yeah.
Get a prenup, fellas. Get a prenup. Get a post-nup. Get that prenup revamped every 2 or 3 years. Be heartless like Uncle B. Yep.
You know something, Dennis? What I've observed, a lot of brothers, until you help them get out of this mindset, they have an aversion to getting involved with a lawyer. I'm and I tell them, I was like, you idiot. I says, a good lawyer will save you money. And I says, listen, the reason I've had such great success, the attorneys tell me, says, you get us involved early. And you talk to us about what you're contemplating, because I want to know the right way to do it so it will work, rather than come to you saying, look, I effed up and I need you to help get me out of something.
See, you know, the thing is, let me tell you something. I'm a lawyer, right? And it's things that I would tell my close friends, and it's things that I would tell my family that I would never tell a client who I just met. You understand what I'm saying? So what you want to do is become friends with a lawyer, somebody who's knowledgeable and knows things, because he's going to protect his family. He's going to, he might not give you advice, but he might say, well, you know, I know a guy, he was getting a divorce, and what he ended up doing was putting all his money in this, what is that called? A local bank in another city, outside in another town. So it was outside the subpoena power of the family court law. And as long as he didn't reveal it, there's no way they could find out about it.
Exactly. Look,
now, I'm not telling you that that's what you should do during your divorce proceedings, but
right.
I'm just telling you this was what that guy did. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
I'm telling you that, I remember one day I was in law school. I had this old Irish guy, and he was teaching me conflicts of law. And he said he had a situation where, and this is some situation he was going through. I'm just telling you guys what my law professor told me 23 years ago. He said, so the guy was trying to get custody of his kid, and the mother wouldn't do it. Come to find out, the child comes home and says, mommy has a new boyfriend. He has a lot of tattoos, and he has a gun at the house. The daddy already knew that the ex-boyfriend was an ex-con, so what he ended up doing was calling the police and said, there's an ex-con over here with a gun. They arrested him. He took that arrest report down to the family law judge and say, it's in the best interest for you to get this kid out of here because she's got felons in the house with guns. I'm not going to advise you to do that because, first of all, I don't practice family law. Second of all, I would never tell you to call the police on your ex-girlfriend and her baby daddy who's a felon with a gun in the house. I would never do that, okay? That's none of my business. That's probably unethical. I wouldn't do that. I'm just telling you what my law professor told me. And see, these are the type of conversations that you have when you have friends who know things. See, a lot of us, we still want to be cool with the homies. We still want to hang out with Pookie and Ray Ray instead of hanging out with people who can actually help me. My friend is Dr. Hasan Johnson. Do you know that? My new friend is Carnell Smith. These are people that can help me. You need you brothers who are moving up into the middle class. You need to change your circle of friends. And what that'll also do, your friends will tell you, man, you need to leave that hood rat alone. You need to leave that thought alone. You need to recognize that clown has 2 or 3 other kids by 2 or 3 other people. We know her reputation in this neighborhood. Leave her alone. I'm not saying all women are perfect. I'm not saying all women are not perfect. I'm not saying anything. All I'm saying is help yourself out by changing your level of friends and get around a different class of people who can help you. You see what I'm saying? To the legal system. I use the legal system like a big bat that I hit people upside the head with on behalf of my clients. Don't you think I would go out of my way to at least give my good friends some advice? Don't you think I would at least hint to my friend or family member, look, man, maybe you should think about this. I'm not giving you advice. I'm not your lawyer, but this is what I heard. Not advice. This is how things go. But other than that, guys, you got, don't run away. Another thing, man, and I don't want to go off subject, but oftentimes we look at the brothers and sisters who made it and we call them sellouts. So they're no longer black. They've entered into the middle class or the upper middle class. I'm having a conversation on Friday about brothers like Robert F. Smith. Is he still black enough to be able to help black people because he has a wife that's non-black? Why wouldn't you want a billionaire to help black people? I just, I myself, I have a black ex-wife. I have a black mother, some black sisters, but my new lady is Afro-Latina, which means she's black of the African diaspora, but she's not AOS. Does that mean y'all don't want Uncle D to give y'all advice anymore? Because I'm sure there's plenty of Dominicans that would love to adopt me and take my scholarship money that I'm paying and all this different stuff. I can learn to speak. I could give all them Dominican dudes all this good advice that I'm giving y'all. Is that what y'all want? Y'all really want to trade Uncle D in? I'll go. I like the island. You see what I'm saying? So what I'm saying, you guys, is stop doing that. You need that talented 10th. Somewhere, Dr. T. Hasan Johnson, we've been told that the talented 10th is bad. The talented 10th will save your ass. Okay, brothers? Those are the people you need to become friends with. The doctors, the lawyers, the engineers, the business owners, all these, the plumbers, all these people, they have resources. They have knowledge. So don't do yourself like that.
Well, and we got to add, look, I've seen, and I think we've all seen people who've taken advantage of folks, who've exploited folks, who've done all kinds of things across the class spectrum. It's not inherently a moral good to be poor. It's not inherently a moral good to be wealthy. As a matter of fact, it's interesting you mentioned what you did a moment ago, Dennis, because I just posted an article on Facebook about a man whose ex-woman is, I guess she's in a new relationship, right? And this brother was upset at the biological father because he took his child, on a weekend or whatever. So he showed up. So I know I'm not explaining it well, right? But he showed up to the biological father's house, right? Because the mother was upset that the biological father took the child. So he showed up at the biological father's house and shot up the house with the son in it, right? So we can see that there's all kinds of chicanery going on across the level. And there's another thing I want to mention. I've been seeing a lot of videos lately that are focused on high value, right? And one of the things I've been hearing just even in the last day was in multiple videos that if you get to this upper echelon in terms of class, all your problems go away, especially in regard.
Oh, they don't. They just change levels.
That's what I'm trying to say. I grew up in the era where women told us we needed 6 figures to get in a relationship. It wasn't something my grandmother's generation had. My mother's generation didn't have that, but our generation had it. And when I achieved it, one of the things I noticed is nothing changed.
Nothing changed, man. Look, they raised the amount. I don't know if you've listened to the latest issue of City Girls.
I just want to finish this last sentence.
Yeah,
I'm gonna come to you. The story I told about the woman sitting on the couch, had a PhD, lived in an $800,000 house. This is not limited to, you know what I mean? This can come from anywhere. But go ahead, brother. Finish your statement.
No, I was just gonna say, adding on to that, man. Now they want an 8-figure ninja. If you listen to the latest, because look, my girlfriend is young, so I'm listening to the City Girls. Man, I know I know what's the name, Sweetie. I know all the songs. And the City Girls said they want an 8-figure ninja now. Okay, 6, that's nothing. Are you kidding me? 8 figures, they get in the bag. I listen to all the latest hip hop, man. What's the name? Sweetie, the little Asian girl. I listened to the light-skinned girl that got everybody mad because she made the song about red bones. I listen to all that, man. You know what I'm saying? They've changed. They need more money now. But that's 6 figures. Are you kidding me? That's nothing. Okay, you got, not only do you have to be in the top 1%, you got to be in the top 0.10th of the 1%. You hear me? In order to satisfy these ladies. So all I'm saying, Doc, is the closer you get to that goal that they say they want, then it increases.
It just moves. It just moves,
man.
They move the goalpost.
Yeah, and Birkin bags. Have you priced the Birkin bag yet, man? Do you know that a used Birkin bag is like $20,000 or 20 G's, bro? And we're in a pandemic. You understand what I'm saying? That's why they need more child support. And if you guys were sensitive women, you would understand, okay? Because you guys are chauvinists. You're the patriarchy. You don't understand what women have to go through, okay? They need that $25,000 Birkin bag, and you're not a real man if you can't get that Birkin bag for them, okay?
Right.
Let me tell you something, brother. Brother Spurling, my comic book collection costs me about $20 a week. So I think I'm stick with my childish comic book interests as opposed to that. That's just
absolutely.
That's just
absolutely.
Fellas,
can I say something, guys?
Please do.
Something I observed, that we can help the brothers who are willing and able to make the mindset shift. But if they don't bring those two to the table, I don't waste my time. I don't try to drag nobody. I have people who say they want to do consulting with me, and then they want me to convince them of whether or not I know anything to help them. I'm like, man, go Google me. And if you can't figure out anything, I said, you want some references, you could talk to references. So one thing I did in the fatherhood program, I got all of the guys to look around in the class. And the white guys thought they were being treated unfairly. The black guys thought they were being treated unfairly. The Hispanic guys thought they were being treated unfairly. And the Mexican guys, and the Hispanic come in different flavors. You know what I mean, right?
Okay.
All right. So, and you can't call somebody who's from Nicaragua, you can't call him Mexican. That'll get you into a fight. Okay. But one of the things I got them to see, I said, listen, you guys are all encountering similar problems with the way the system treats men, but at different levels.
Right.
So I persuaded them to join me on some legislative reform, and took them down and show them that you don't have to have a college degree to be a citizen advocate. You can find out who your state representative is, and you can talk about how an issue affects you and how proposed legislation could improve your life, your community's life, and for others who are similarly situated, right? Got those guys together and got them to see what happened when they started working together as one unit and a brotherhood. We were able to get legislation that made it much easier now for a dad to legitimate his child, because you can't get parenting time if you don't get legal recognition as a legal dad. You can be ordered to pay child support because you signed that during confession paper. You know, that one where I confess I am the father. I don't have no proof. She told me it was mine. Baby looked like me. She didn't tell me them other 4 dudes looked like me too. And one of them is my cousin. But these men changed their mindset when they saw that it didn't take 10,000 people to bring about legislative change that would help them, and that their voice did matter. In spite of, I got a record, man, I done messed up before, man, I'm barely hanging on now. And I say, fellas, all that was networking, showing you guys how to use your voice. I say, women been doing this for years. I says, you can do it, but if you're not willing and able to be coached, because a lot of these societal things where we see the men are getting beaten with the stick, not just the short end of the stick. These policies passed and got put in place, and there were no men, there were nobody speaking up on behalf of what was going to happen to men and boys. And we have been fighting. Listen, we've been fighting through two presidential cabinets to establish a White House commission for men and boys. Did you know there is a high suicide rate on boys between 5 and 11? Men between 18 and 30. What happens when the fellows reach a point to where they think there's no help, there's no hope? And what are we being told for years? Man, you guys not supposed, don't let nobody see you cry. Don't tell nobody about you got issues, man. You were supposed to suck it in, play tough, be hard. Man, he will blow up and self-destruct. And what do he end up doing? Trying to treat himself with some form of substances or other things, which furthers the destruction of his own self.
Sure.
You know, and Doc, I gotta go in a little. I gotta go to court tomorrow, but
actually,
let me give you guys
to give your closing thoughts. But
okay,
I want to thank you both for coming. But go ahead.
No problem. I think I have young sons, and what I do, even as early as they could figure out that they were boys and there's a girl over there, I would show them how they're treated differently from girls. There was a couple of instances. My son, I believe he was in the 5th grade. Some little girl stepped on his backpack. He pushed the little girl's leg off his backpack because she had broke his phone. He was down there picking it up. She stomped on it, broke his phone. He pushed her leg back. She started crying, oh, he hit me. And then he got in trouble and she didn't. I say, son, take that as a lesson. That's how the rest of society, they're always going to team up on you. And I talk about this in my book. The weak always team up on the strong. They perceive you as strong. They perceive men as strong. And so all these people are going to team up on you and say you can take it. There was another instance with my youngest son, Roman. I said, look, son, you boys are old enough now that you need to understand how you need to operate and how you need to operate in this world. Basically, what I'm doing is I'm red pilling them to take a turn from the manosphere as early as possible. Because see, by the time you get a guy who's 45, 50 years old, he's already indoctrinated into that, you know, sugar and spice, everything nice. Women are, you know, lollipops and slides. And he doesn't recognize that they're human beings just like you are. Imagine if you were put in that position. You would do anything you could to win. If the society allowed you to win unfairly, you would. If you could bring a Tyrannosaurus Rex to a dog fight, you would. And that's what women are allowed to do. And so you have to prepare your sons early on. As far as older men, some brothers, man, they just gonna have to, you know, some men, they're just gonna have to suffer. If they're not, if they don't love and care for themselves enough to put themselves first, then unfortunately you can't bring them along with you. But what I do with my sons is I speak honestly to them. I don't tell them lies about women. I say, look, she's selfish, she's jealous, she's envious, just like men are. She's violent. She can curse. She can do that, just like men are. We're human beings, you know. And so I don't put that shroud of over my sons early on. That's what I do in the beginning. Now, as far as child support, if you find yourself in a position, the play is first. Do not start paying anything until you get some sort of court record in place. Don't get the court record and don't pay for child support. Don't pay for anything. Don't sign a birth certificate until it's established in court that that's your child, which means you get a paternity test. If your woman says something like, "Oh, you don't believe me, you don't trust me," say, "Well, you know what? That's not what we're doing. We're doing this for the best interest of the child, because there needs to be clear and convincing evidence for that child. We don't ever want them to believe not." That way, what you successfully did, that's some slick stuff that I would say, you know, but if you want to just say, you know what, yeah, I don't believe you. Bottom line is, we're doing this for the best interest of the child. You make sure you get that paternity test, because you will feel like an idiot. If you pay for a child for 15, 16, 17 years, you end up loving that child and dedicated to that child and feel like your heart is ripped out. And let me tell you something else, and this is something we never look at, because I lived this experience myself. I found out, you know, when I was a young boy, that the man that I had developed this relationship with wasn't my father. So I was lied to by my own mother and the man who I thought was my father. What effect is it having on these children? Yeah. So we always look over the parents. Yeah, the parent, he got to pay, she need to pay. What about the fact that you have a little boy or a little girl who's developed this relationship with this person who everybody around them is told that this is your parent? What does it do to their psyche when the people that are supposed to love them the most, they found out these people have lied to them their whole life? See, I was one of those people. You guys, what I'm trying to tell you is there's more than just one victim. It's not just the man. It's also these children that when these women lie, whether they know or whether they don't know, you need to have that DNA evidence. That's the first thing you guys need to do. But after that, man, I've had a great time. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you for coming. Carnell, any final thoughts, bro?
Yeah. As a final thought too, there's a reason I am the paternity coach. And that is, when you start to approach the family law arena, it's going to be two paths. You got to first make sure you know whether or not you are or are not the biological father, as has already been stated. But you got to know there's 4 ways that men can find themselves being defrauded as paternity fraud victims. And number 1 is signing a paternity confession. You don't admit to some without proof. Number 2, the marital presumption. Those states that say you are responsible for any children your wife has while she's married to you, whether you are in the country or not. Number 3, incorrect default judgment. Anytime somebody files a lawsuit against you and you know you didn't touch that woman, you still got to defend yourself, or else you lose because you didn't defend yourself.
Right.
Number 4, mistaken identity. An order can be placed, or a collection can be placed on you based on the fact that your name's the same as the guy they got an order on. I've had a client go to jail on a child support warrant, and it wasn't him. And they wouldn't let him go. They wouldn't drop the issue until I got an attorney. We went to court, and we were successful in getting the mother. We had them take a squad car and pick the mother up and bring her to court, because my client, he didn't even resemble the guy described in the warrant by melanation, the amount of melanin in his skin, his height, his weight, tattoos, nothing. So operating from a place of ignorance and fear can leave you trapped by law and financially devastated for 18 to 21 years. And if that child is handicapped or disabled, you will pay for life.
For life.
Imagine all of that. Child not yours too. Listen, you can get educated. Don't approach that family court arena trying to wing it. Don't skip going to a hearing because you think they got it wrong. Man, you got to always show up and advocate for your rights.
I heard that. Well, look,
thank you. And thank you.
Well,
It's been a pleasure.
You guys can find me on YouTube at Dennis Spurling Unfiltered. And I'd like to have Dr. Hasan Johnson come back, man. And my guys love you, man. So anytime Carnell Spell, I need to get his. I might need him myself. Bro.
All right.
I need you to come holler at me, man.
Well, look, I'm the paternity coach on Facebook, on YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter. That's my handle, Paternity Coach.
And make sure, and also not only support Dennis's channel, go check out his work. If you haven't, I don't know what rock you've been sleeping under, but definitely subscribe, because the brother's dropping it, and he's dropping it consistently and often. So you want to pick up those gems. Also, pick up both of their books. Pick up Carnell Smith's Trapped by Law. Pick up Dennis Spurling's Rules to Live By. Support the brothers and get something out of it. You're not even just donating, you are getting wisdom. So go ahead and pick up both of those texts because they're needed. So I want to thank you both, fellas. Much appreciated.
Thank you, Professor.
Thanks, God. Great being back.
Professor, counselor, love chopping it up with you guys.
Yeah, man, this is cool, man. They'll grab your ass.
Hey, Hasan, you were right. This was something good here.
I told you 5 minutes into our interview, I said, I got to get into Dennis. I got to get him.
Yeah. The engineer, the professor, and the lawyer.
Yeah, man. Just we brothers, man. That's it. That's how we just black men chopping it up for the best interest of our people.
Man, some of y'all didn't see the commercial. I made it. It was corny, but I was feeling it. I was up late one night. I called us the Trilateral Commission.
Yeah, that was dope, man. I saw that, man. That was dope, man.
I knew this was gonna happen. I said this is gonna be epic. Thank you, brothers. Much appreciated. Right. And Dennis, I'm gonna get you off the Institute for Black Male Studies, brother. I got to get an interview with you there.
All right, man.
All right, man. Y'all take it easy. Okay, so y'all know we are gonna have office hours tonight, so that is available. But y'all know how I do. How we close out. I'm here to tell you, brothers, we are not criminals by birth, perennial rapists, incapable intellects, man children, sperm donors, child support wellsprings, success objects, walking phalluses, ATM machines, lottery tickets, brainless henchmen, valueless assassins, pro bono mercenaries, unpaid bodyguards, interchangeable stepfathers, child discipline proxies, unpaid repairmen, workhorses, emotional tampons, or any other socially accepted dehumanizing stereotype. We are thinkers, inventors, innovators, leaders, fathers, warriors, and men. Embrace your humanity, know your worth, and extend your time, attention, and resources only to those who genuinely respect you. And remember, your worth is not defined by meeting other people's narcissistic, selfish, and unrealistic needs. You define your worth. All right? Y'all take it easy. Appreciate you joining me tonight, and I will see you later.